Hello! Today we're on Devil's Hill.
About a week ago, it was my birthday, and my partner and I decided we would like to take a walk through the autumn forest. It wasn't quite as autumny yet. I was still pretty ill at the time, so this was like the only thing that I had energy for, but it was really nice, and I had been craving some time in nature for a while. You know, doing this hobby and sitting at my desk all day, it is kind of nice and cozy, but you do miss out on nature a lot. So definitely good to go outside and get some fresh air every once in a while. And this was so nice. Look at all these beautiful flower meadows and these rolling hills in the background. Our field trip was to the Devil's Hill, Teufelsberg here in Berlin, which is a man-made mountain with a very interesting history. I'll tell you all about it later. This is us climbing up said mountain, and I mean, if I say mountain, it's like 120 meters high. It's it's not really a mountain. It's a little hill, but for sure a really lovely early autumn walk with our dog Disco. And I really like to, when I go on walks, look for things to find, maybe some inspiration along the way, maybe some interesting objects on the ground, or, you know, just get inspired by these beautiful views, this vista. I had never been up here before. It's a pretty well-known landmark here in Berlin, but for some reason I had just never visited before. And it turns out I was missing out because it's beautiful. This building in the background is what most people will think about when they think about the Teufelsberg. It is an old listening station used by the US military in the Cold War. And this was built up on this mountain. And it was built in the 50s, and it was used by the NSA as a listening station. It was actually part of Echelon, the surveillance program. And later on it was used by British and US security services for the same purposes. Up until like the early 90s when it got used as like local air traffic control, basically. And it's strange to think that like these guys held all of these messages before, and now we're just standing here and having a little tourist trip on my birthday. You can really feel it's quite the heavy, intense place. Like, even though this was a nice walk and the nature is beautiful, it is a strange mountain. It has like a strange vibe. Coming down from this big plateau, you can see there's all kinds of stuff just like embedded into the soil. There's old tires and like pieces of porcelain. This was like maybe someone's plate once. And this is because, as I said before, this is not a natural mountain. This is actually what we call a Trümmerberg. So after the Second World War, for like 22 years, they were taking rubble from all of the destroyed and bombed houses and bringing it here to form this mountain. So in the 1940s, here where we're standing, below our feet, would have been the Wehrtechnische Fakultät, which was like a plan by the Nazis to build this strange college town. But they didn't ever finish it. And when the war ended, it got blown up, and then they just dumped all of this rubble on top. 26 million cubic meters of rubble, which is a third of all bombed houses in Berlin. So 1972, when they were done with this, they covered all of this debris with sand and soil, and they planted 1 million trees. At one point there was even a ski lift here, but the American soldiers stationed at the listening station were complaining about the noise, and so they closed that pretty quickly. And now I'm standing up here and I'm looking for strange things to find to build miniature dioramas with.
This is exactly what I was looking for. An upturned tree, uprooted, with the roots exposed to the elements for a long time, so they're all dry. I thought I would just be able to like break them off, but they're pretty solid. And I think I would need a little handsaw to really get these roots. If you take a look in here, this is crazy. Look at this big root here, and look at how all these rocks are like embedded within the roots. Look at these, And then this one is the craziest. If you come around the other side, the root grew through the cinder block and has pulled it up with it when the tree got uprooted. And this whole tree is full of it. Look here, there's another rock stuck here between these roots. Isn't that crazy and amazing how this wooden living being has like torn up all of these rocks with it when it got upturned? This is wow.
Oh!
Wow. Hi. I think I'm gonna come back another day with like a little handsaw and get some of the more solid roots that haven't yet rotted and try to bake those and use those for projects. Look, there's even pieces of glass in between and like some ceramics. I don't know if that's like from the tree pulling those up with the soil or if people have like littered while they're sitting where I'm sitting right now. But obviously if you look around, kids have been using this area to build little shelters and awesome huts. And you can feel it. It's like a magical atmosphere here. It's you feel all of the stories and the magic from all of the children playing here and everyone making up their own magical forest adventure. It's nice. I grew up in forests like these. It means a lot.
And so as I'm sitting there with my dog at about 100 meters in height, with millions and millions of bricks and stones and doors and former living rooms beneath our feet, all of these little bugs are crawling around in the soil and the trees are dropping their leaves. And I'm having like a nice birthday, but it's such a strange contrast. All of the suffering and the pain and the unspeakable horrors of the Nazi regime and the Second World War. And now it's just covered up by this beautiful landscape. And as we near the top, there's these climbers. And they're just having a good time, you know, just climbing. Not thinking about any of this, probably. And we pass other couples having their own little days off. But then you come to the top and you're immediately greeted with this surveillance sign, and there's a large fence with barbed wire on top, and the forest is kind of intertwined with it. And this just reminds me of how this whole place is a strange amalgamation of nature and artificial buildings and construction. And it is just really eerie up here. And you can go up to the old listening station. There's a modern art gallery there and an observation deck. But walking along this path, seeing this barbed wire just hanging out in the open and cutting into trees, and the trees absorbing it over the years, this is such a perfect symbol for what this place is. This strange marriage of destruction and creation, of nature living on top of the literal ruins of death itself. And I just couldn't help but be moved by this, by seeing these trees growing through these restrictions. And you've seen this a million times. You've seen trees growing through fences, but just the context of what I just thought about walking through this forest and then arriving to the top and seeing all of these strange images, while certainly being creepy, it did kind of fill me with a little bit of hope for the future. Knowing that we can prevail, we can grow over the mistakes of our past and of our present. And so looking back on the hill that we just climbed, I felt inspired and happy to be out here creating and socializing with people, and that I get to walk on this beautiful forest instead of the ruins that lie beneath. And you know, it's tough times right now, and often it's hard to create art when you feel like the world's burning around you and there's people who need your immediate help, and it feels like you can't really do anything. And to draw a picture or compose a song when everything feels like it's falling apart is a hard thing to do, but I think it's still important. I think we need art now more than ever. Like, now is the exact right time to make that thing. Which is why I'll be taking this stick and making something strange out of it when I get home. See you in the next video.